to be with a company called Raza for a year and headed up their sales. So Raza is basically an open source conversational AI software for enterprise. And working with them, I gained a lot of experience in deploying for companies like Airbus or BMW, banks like Bank of America, HSBC. And now Raza is basically focusing on the product side of the company, and I'm taking over the implementation side of working with the product and delivering specifically proof of concepts, also rolling out to bigger projects, but starting with proof of concepts with large companies. So we work with 2 teams in London and 1 team in Canada, 1 team in Berlin. They all have quite different specific specialities, but quite sort of an international group. Cool, thank you. Just so you kind of know who I am. So for conversational AI technology, just to understand, who of you guys have used an actual bot? I'm guessing most of you have come in contact with a bot at some point. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, just put that next slide. Thank you. So yeah, really a bot, just to make sure everyone is on the same page, is just the software that sits on a messaging channel or platform that can be voice, it can be text, and lets you interact in a hopefully human-like dialogue. And Facebook released its developer platform to bots a few years ago, and that's sort of meant the explosion of bots, which is why you sort of hear everyone now talk about it. One learning before I actually go into the juice of my talk, it was something that one of our devs pointed out today as he was looking at the slides, and he said, well, actually, most people think that bots are about disseminating information, but actually it's just as much about gathering information, and the talk that we heard just now I think really reflected that, and that we can take so many learnings from what users are actually asking. And it's so different from going onto a website and seeing, just what people click on, which parts of the website that you thought they would want to use, they end up clicking through on. But it's really different when they actually type in the question and you see, what they really are asking. Thank you. So Raza is based on a decision, is not based on decision tree models, it's a Google system, but it's based on neural net models, which means it's actually built on machine learning. You're able to identify context a lot better and actually have those human-like dialogue, that human-like dialogue and conversation. But also the fact that it's open source means that the technology that we work with is actually much more suitable for large companies that have issues around data security, around privacy, and really don't want to use stuff that's in the cloud. I'll get to that in a minute, but those I think would be the kind of key differentiators. If you can skip to the next, and I've kind of gone through that already, so we can go to the next one. Cool, so these are sort of the areas that my experience has been in biggest. So deploying bots in customer service, automating in sales, also functions like HR, IT, the amount of hours that businesses spend in IT tickets is insane. And it basically just goes up with the size of the organization. So that's just a huge thing for businesses to think about automating. And it's becoming kind of much more as we go. Cool, thank you. So yeah, I just wanted to walk you through a few learnings. I think there's a lot, and this is just touching upon a few of them, but this is more from a business perspective than from the developer's perspective. If you have questions on the developer's perspective, I'm happy to kind of answer this separately or put you in touch with my dev team as well. So first of all, actually, I'll see one. First of all, this is about increasing requests for bespoke solutions. So large companies have very complex systems that they work with in terms of their own internal structures of data, how their systems are set up, how people talk to each other within the organization, who has which rights, etc. So the idea that you can kind of create a product that lots of companies can use as their chatbot is, while really nice and romantic, unfortunately not that realistic. And that's something that we kind of found out as we were building at Raza. And also found out kind of at Springbok that a lot of companies have tried kind of off-the-shelf solutions and just found that it doesn't work that well with their complex systems. So the move is much more towards building something that really works for their own systems and then being able to adapt and modify as their systems change as well. Next, thank you. So yeah, the second big learning I would say is that really learn to walk before you run, or to maybe jump before you fly. So proof of concepts are really about showing the potential for the full rollout, and it's important that you can show that it could be integrated with other systems, if you go ahead, but the proof of concept doesn't necessarily need to be the fully fledged thing, integrated with everything, going through all those data security people, and really costing you a lot of time. So really start as small as possible. And also, it's really okay to fail. It's really okay to learn and then try something else. And a lot of companies actually have sometimes 2, sometimes 5, sometimes as many as like 25 bot projects going on at the same time. Sometimes even in the same country, sometimes across countries. Another thing is, like, do not assume that all these bot project people are talking to each other. This was massive at HSBC. They had so many bot projects going on globally, and so many people had no idea that the same project, literally on the same issue, was going on in Hong Kong or in upstate New York or something. So just don't make those assumptions. Make sure that you ask the people that you're talking to specifically to reach out to their respective counterparts in other countries to see what's going on, and if there's learnings to share or products to merge. So yeah, just really quickly wanted to jump through this kind of visually. So MVP stage, something super, super scrappy that can be like built on chat fuel. Just show your boss, like, this is what a chatbot is. Like, maybe we should try and creating an actual project with some of our real use cases. What do you think? Next slide. This is like a Lego airplane that you can remote control. This would be a proof of concept, like, look, this thing can actually fly. This works. Why don't we try building a proper one? And then number 3, the fully fledged rollout that would have merit for getting budget because the proof of concept worked. And that's really the beauty. If you build a proof of concept that's gone well, the people that you're working with in the company are able to secure more budget doing your projects. So it's a win-win for everyone. Number 3, the bot topic must really be a big priority in the company that you're working with. If it's kind of lower on their list and they don't have someone assigned to it, they have lots of other stuff going on, it's really hard to actually push the project to completion. So just make sure when you talk to them in the beginning with their project, like, is this really a priority for you? Do you have budget set aside for this? Who is the respective point of contact? When is your deadline? Who is this accountable to? Those kinds of questions are what you need to ask. Thank you. And then also clarity on the use cases. So when our clients ask us to do a bot project with them, there's kind of 2 routes that we take. So one is to know what is your specific use case that you have in mind. If not, like, we will help you find the right use case. But also, as in, like, work out, what exactly is the challenge, or what challenges do you have, and which one of those would a bot be suitable for. But if they know a specific challenge that they want to solve, and a bot is not the right way to solve them, then there's no point in forcing a bot on that problem. So you also have to be kind of quite just honest and realistic with it, and make sure that the use case actually fits. Otherwise, they're wasting their time and money, you are too, and you're potentially costing your reputation. Then an issue that is absolutely crucial for any company in especially a regulated industry. I'm going to go back to the examples we said earlier. Banking, insurance, very heavily regulated, of course, is data security. They have to be, they really, really want whatever you deploy to be on-premise. They have to have that security that no one's going to hack into the systems. That question comes up every time. So if you're working on a project that's with a bank or an insurance company or in a regulated industry, just be sure you know how to answer that question. Then languages. So first of all, for a proof of concept, we have really made the discovery that actually, while some companies think they want a lot of languages in their first versions, like for example in Switzerland, they will want Swiss German, and they will want normal German, and they will want French, and they will want Italian, and they will also want English. But actually what we found is that people will reply to the bot in the language that the bot will talk to them in the beginning. So basically, if you start talking to if the bot starts talking to you in English or responds to you in English, the user will just switch into English. Similarly, if someone's talking to the one in Swiss German, they get a reply in Hochdeutsch, normal German, then the conversation can just continue in normal German. You don't need to kind of tailor it to every potential language that the user may use. Just go to the kind of most common denominator. And also, for proof of concept, one language is absolutely fine. This is really to test the viability of the project, not to go full out. Cool. Another thing that we found with, especially companies where we've done customer service automation, is that about 60% of the inquiries that they get are repetitive. So it's stuff like, when is my delivery coming, or like, I want to cancel my order, or whatever kind of industry you're in, whatever problems that your customers are facing and are asking. 60% of it is the same stuff. I'm sure in your case, you probably can also kind of see how that statistic pans out, maybe 90% even exactly. So it kind of depends on the industry and on what part of the company this is relevant to, but a huge number is repetitive, and that's where chatbots are super valuable. They're not that valuable when you get a request maybe once a week or something. That's like absolutely not the right use case. But if you're getting like hundreds or thousands requests a day, like this is really something to consider. Thank you. Next is stakeholder alignment. This is really often just a matter of making sure that you have a champion in the business who may or may not also be the project manager, but to make sure that they're inviting the right people into usually like the kickoff meeting, and making sure that everyone's objectives are aligned before you kick off the project. You do not want to be at the end of your project and then suddenly someone goes, oh, wait, we can't deploy this because of X, Y, Z, or like, no, the customer service department isn't okay with this. The innovation department said this is a great idea, but actually this can't go live. You don't want that to happen, because that means your work will never be seen. It's frustrating. There might be debates over pay. Like, this is an issue that's really, really frustrating. So just something to bear in mind to solve at the beginning. Next is transparent risk management, and kind of making sure that you communicate what the potential pitfalls are, where the project could go wrong before the project kicks off, and also set some expectations. So I don't know if any of you speak German or are German. No? So we have a word in German which is really fun, called the eierlegende Wollmilchsau, which kind of means like the something that's able to create a solution or a product or create like a solution that can do absolutely everything under the sun. And that's often what clients expect. Like, you type something in and it will solve all of your problems at once. You will have a chatbot and suddenly all 150 FAQs will be solved. That just works overnight, and that's just not possible. And it doesn't work in 6 languages when you kick off. It might work in 1, Those are just the basics of starting, and you want to start small, and you want to make sure that from the bottom all the way to the top management, whoever is involved, that kind of set of stakeholders, know what to expect from that bot project. And that way, you don't have any frustrations down the line. So, yeah, kind of really simple stuff, but easy to forget. Something that's really valuable to have, and I would say really crucial when we accept or decline projects, is whether there'll be a project manager on the client side. So someone who basically just manages all the conversations and coordinates on the client side, who's able to get information from the developers if you need, who tells you when the management meetings are, etc. So that's something that's super crucial to have, that needs to be on site with the client. Next, something that you can get away with that's a little bit more positive is actually doing the project management on your side from anywhere you want. There's a few things that you need to be there for, like a kickoff meeting, maybe a presentation in the middle of the project, or you need to send some devs there to look at integration with systems, that kind of stuff. But really, you don't need to be there on site all the time, not even that regularly. It's pretty easy to do that remotely.
I'm going to give you another couple of minutes because we had some IT issues with it.
Okay, no worries. And then number 12 is calculate enough time for testing and quality assurance. So whatever time you think you need, probably add about another 50% on top, and just make sure that the client knows that this is in your interest. Like, we want to make sure we deliver your product that you're really proud of, that we're really proud of, and that works really well. So that's just something that may take longer than you might anticipate. Next. And then second to last, assess your capacity for a safety budget. So just talk to your project manager beforehand. Because the project may take longer than expected, especially things like quality assurance, make sure that there is a possibility to go beyond that budget that's been set initially a little bit, just to make sure that it gets delivered properly. And then number 14 is make sure that whoever your champion is in the organization who got you that project, and whoever's the PM for this project, looks really good at the end of it. Go to the next one. This is how you want to make them feel. Like, they've taken a risk on you and your company and your products and your technology. You're probably a startup. This is all really unknown territory to them, and you want to make them feel like really, really good about this. Make them look good in front of management. Make them feel good about themselves. Think about doing things like writing a management report, writing a summary of the project. These things really go a long way, and it also makes leaves you in really good memory to them. Whether they go on to another company to do something else, and they might call you back or whatever. But really, people might not remember exactly what the project was about, but they'll remember how you made them feel when you were working with them. So this is, just the last note I wanted to leave you guys with. Cool, thank you. Thanks.
Any questions of Victoria? We have an audience microphone now. Question? I've got a question.
Not all at once, guys.
I've got a question to start. So when I used to do kind of more agency stuff, I found that we were kind of trapped in a world of innovation budgets where, companies were thinking, oh, we can spend 10, 15K on this, just to see, doesn't matter if it fails, but no kind of real money. Do you kind of feel the ecosystem has evolved since then?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as you said, it's quite easy to secure the 10, 15K from an innovation team. But really, what the innovation teams do is essentially take some mud and throw it against a wall and see what sticks. What you really want is to have them put you in touch with different parts of the organization to find out which problems do they have that they're already solving, that they might be currently solving in a different way. And chatbots could be a way to solve those problems differently. So an area that I could give as an example is in sales. A lot of companies have business-to-business customers that they need to reactivate between 1 and 3 years for their contracts. And this is some really annoying work because some of those clients are small clients, but they have to call them back or email them back and be like, hey, did you want to renew your contract with us? And then have to wait on a reply, etc. And automating that with something like SMS or email, it doesn't even have to be the classic chatbot in terms of a website with a pop-up, but it can be in 3 different channels. Can be a really good way to solve that problem. And you might not get access to that information unless you go via someone like an innovation department. So they're really helpful people. They know where to get bigger budgets, but they may not want to be the projects that you do.
With proof of concepts, they're normally over a very short period of time when you've got to show the value. How do you sort of show the value of machine learning over a short period of time? The value sort of comes from further learning of machine learning proof of concept.
Yeah, that's a great question. So the machine learning is essentially applied to creating those contextual-based conversations. So when you train the bot to a confidence level of, say, between 95 and 99%, which is usually what clients are asking for by the time we actually deploy it live, and you are able to then test that conversation flow, it should give you a really good indicator of how it's machine learning as opposed to a rule-based system, or built on a neural network as opposed to a decision-tree model / rule-based system. But yes, you're absolutely right. The more conversations it is fed, the more interactions it has, the better it gets. But that's why when we train the bot initially, we tend to use historical chat conversations and as many as possible.
Okay, thanks. Does the one over here? Sorry, I can see. Sorry.
Hi, thank you for giving me this presentation today. I have a question because you mentioned chatbots replacing IT ticketing.
Replacing what, sorry?
IT ticketing?
Yeah.
Can you give an example where that was implemented, what the budget was, and how much time was saved afterwards?
Okay. So we are just doing a project right now, actually, with a large German FMCG company who are one of the world's largest producers of adhesives. You can probably, kind of, if you Google that, figure out who it is, but I would not be able to say the name. So they have a volume of about 12,000 IT tickets hitting them every month, which they want to automate. And most of the requests that are coming in are, I can't print, and my Wi-Fi doesn't work, and my laptop is broken. And the spend on that is, just thinking, it's about €4 per request at the moment. So you can work that out, but we're usually able to reduce the cost per conversation or per request by about 60 to 90%, depending on the volume that companies are dealing with.
So what was the budget for implementing it?
Budget for implementing it. So the time frame for implementing it was about 3 months. We're probably going to be going into 3.5 months because there were some issues on their side for getting data. And I can tell you about the pricing of it later, probably.
I admire the tenacity that you asked that with. Cool. Any final questions? All right. Thank you so much, Victoria. Thank you.